Welcome to Period 6 in 6 minutes. This is the series where I take a period of the APUSH curriculum and attempt to cover it in 6 minutes or less. Period 6, 1865 to 1898. We've got a Gilded Age. We've got a whole bunch of farmer problems. We've got a whole bunch of robber barons or captains of industry, depending on what side of the aisle you're sitting on. Let's get started. All right, Gilded Age, three big things going on. First, industrialization, urbanization. A lot of new technology came out after the end of the Civil War. Electrical power, steel, and the telephone improved communications and really improved business, made the country seem a whole lot smaller, easier to get around. You also have the rise of big business and trusts, monopolies, something you hadn't seen before, but there was also conflict, particularly between labor and management, and at least initially the government will side with management in those disputes. However, the government will make some attempt to regulate business. The ICC will be one of the more successful attempts regulating the railroad industry. Sherman Antitrust Act will attempt to regulate trusts. However, it will primarily be used to regulate labor unions. You see a lot of migration, and there's two different types of migration. You've got domestic and foreign migration. For the first time, people are going to move out of the rural frontier area back into the cities to find work. Why did they do that? Those rural jobs dried up after mechanization in farming was created. The John Deere mechanical the McCormick mechanical reaper, John Deere made a whole bunch of technological advances. You didn't need as many farm workers. Those people were out of job, had to move to the city. What about foreign immigration? After the Civil War, the new immigrants came from South and Eastern Europe. They also came from Asia, especially immigrants coming in on the West Coast into Angel Island in San Francisco. And they were primarily unskilled laborers, couldn't speak English. And again, new group of immigrants, what do you see? Nativism. There's also debate over certain political issues and reforms. This is where we get our big debate over currency reform in the country and moving from a gold standard where the currency is backed only by gold to the silver standard. The populists really wanted this to happen. You also have the Grange movement because you have angry farmers unhappy with their lot in life. And this creates at least a dialogue or at least starts reforms that you're going to see later on in the country. What about the West and South? The frontier was essentially closed by the 1890s, and this was made during, this was noted in Frederick Jackson Turner's Frontier Thesis, and important to U.S. development. Native Americans are going to, again, be the big losers in this whole part of history. The reservation policy, they'll be forced onto reservations or asked to assimilate into American culture in exchange for money and land with the Dawes Severalty Act. Helen Jackson Hunt, not editing it out, will write A Century of Dishonor, just basically making known all of these horrible things the American government and the American people did to Native Americans. You'll see early conservationism and an attempt to conserve the natural spaces in the country. Yellowstone will be preserved, Yosemite Valley, the Grand Canyon. John Muir, which will help found Yosemite National Park, will found the Sierra Club in 1892, and the conservation movement will start out small but will grow during the progressive era under Theodore Roosevelt. You also have the New South, and the South will still be agricultural, but it'll be more diversified thanks to George Washington Carver. And however, some things never change. You'll still have sharecropping and tenant farming, which is like basically virtual serfdom for poor farmers, for poor black farmers, and poor white farmers as well will have to deal with the sharecropping tenant farming, which basically kept them dependent on the big, rich landowners. So success with diversification, fail with the sharecropping tenant farming. Let's look at a document, shall we? Maybe you'll get this on Friday. We're going to do a little bit of analysis in a minute. Let's say you got this on the exam and you had to describe it. What would you say? Well, the agricultural West is a cash cow that's feeding industries on the eastern side of the country. How would you support this? Well, you're seeing here that the farmers were being taken advantage of, and you could include that agricultural prices dropped. However, the farmers are still being charged the same money for transport, for storage, for sale of products. So those prices did not drop as the prices of their goods dropped, and they earned less for what they sold. How would you analyze? If it's a cartoon, I'd say use point of view might give you the easiest time. Again, farmers believed that they were being taken advantage of by other parts of the economy, and this is why you saw a lot of conflict between the western part of the country and the eastern and northern part of the country. They just felt like they were getting the short end of the stick constantly. Outside info, in the Gilded Age, high tariffs protected the industries in the East, but not agriculture. Agriculture was kept out of those high tariffs that were passed. Grange movements created cooperatives. They were organized to help support farmers against predatory trusts, and the railroad industries, at least in the response to this feeling of being taken advantage of. So that's something you could do. We're on 6 minutes and 15 seconds, so no candy for me today. But once again, I hope this video finds you well. See you on the other side. Take care.